Hey, strong people. Welcome to Strong Talk. Sorry, I got this fancy tripod, and by fancy, I mean it was like $18 on Amazon Prime. But it definitely beats leaning my iPad up against some sort of like old protein jug on a table. I don't know why I didn't spend $18 with all that, glorious YouTube money I get. Yeah, that's like I make less than $18 a month off YouTube. Not complaining. I make money off YouTube. That's pretty cool. I mean, and by make money, I mean like I get a check like twice a year, so definitely helps. Doesn't really. The point is to help people like you. The real point is so I don't have to repeat myself over and over when people ask me the same question. I can go, here you go. I already said it. Just skip about 2 minutes into where I actually address your problem instead of I just rant about nothing. Anyways, today I'm going to talk about how to train for the 18-inch deadlift. First, I'm going to explain what an 18-inch deadlift is. It can be called all kinds of things. It can be called, silver dollar deadlift, block pull, off tires, whatever. It's basically an elevated height deadlift, similar to a rack pull or pulling off blocks. I think I just said that. Where the bar, it's supposed to be 18 inches to the bottom of the bar. Normally, with standard Olympic plates, it's 9 inches, so it's twice the height. So you should be able to do twice the weight. Not really how it works, but it does. If you're a short like me, it almost does. This tends to be right depending on the person's length of their legs and their overall body. It tends to be somewhere between mid shin to right at the knee to right above the knee. And those right above the knee people, they're cheats, aren't they? The other thing that makes it different, not just being elevated height, is it tends to be used with a deadlift bar and some sort of tires or boxes. Like you just search a silver dollar deadlift on YouTube. You see some cool videos of Bill Kazmaier. Actually got some boxes made that are going to be used next weekend at California's Strongest Woman. And if you've read the article on the web on sternstrongman.com, Science of Strongman, the curious case of the bumper plate PR, you'll know the term deflection. So if you use a deadlift bar, it flexes or deflects more, which means before the weight actually breaks the ground, the bar's bending more, so you end up pulling from an even more elevated position. If you couple into that like heavy deadlift boxes that are thick steel and really heavy that go all the way to the end of the bar and they put more weight out there, you're going to have even more deflection. So you're going to be able to, it might be 18 inches with no pulling on it, but with that kind of setup, you can get it to where before you actually break the entire weight, it's somewhere probably even like 20 to 21 inches. So it ends up just being a very partial range of motion pull. And I'm thankful for that, of course, being a short. But how to train for it, now that I've kind of explained what an 18-inch deadlift is, it really depends. First, let's say it's for a max and you've never done one before. I tend to have my clients work up to a 3 to 5 rep max, taking somewhat conservative jumps, 40-ish pounds, like basically add a quarter, add a plate, add a quarter, add a plate. So you're jumping 40 to 50 pounds each time until you get to a pretty hard triple. And we're going to use that as a baseline. And you want to do that as far out as possible. And you might not even work up to a complete max triple, because for some people the positioning really throws them off with an 18-inch deadlift. For some people they're like, wow, this is easy, I didn't have to pick it up as far. For some people it's actually harder. And I think that really depends again on where if you have longer legs, it's going to be mid shin. That's a pretty horrible place to pull from. So what you want to do is work up to that max. If it didn't feel comfortable, you might kind of work up doing hip. Then the next week we might do like 80% of that for multiple sets of singles. For doubles and triples. Like 5 sets of 2 at 80-85% of your projected max off of the week 1, and just kind of really dialing in that form. You're getting the hang of it. You kind of need to know how to cheat. You definitely want to use straps. It helps for me particularly to use a slightly wider stance because it's a lot of hip strength, breaking that off the floor, and it's also going to decrease my range of motion even more. And you kind of want to just slide it up your thighs and just drive your squeeze your glutes to finish that lockout. I think the people that struggle with it tend to have weaker upper backs because being in that position, it's a lot of lat strength with that stretch right when you break it off the floor, and it's going to want to pull you forward. You need to kind of sit in this lean back position and do that, and you just kind of like ramp it up your thighs. That's the most efficient way to do an 18-inch deadlift. If you so you really need to have stronger lats, stronger back to be able to, because it should be above your max deadlift. And so you're overloading, you need to have all that muscularity to be able to support that weight so it doesn't pull you forward on your toes, which does not help. You also need a lot of glute and hip strength. And what I think it's less hamstrings for me particularly, and it's more quads because I'm kind of in like my legs are a lot more vertical than they are at the bottom. And I can kind of like just push my feet away from I can push my feet into the floor, and they're more vertical, so it's almost like a leg press scenario. So you just really build up that quad strength, and I think that's one of the reasons to break it off the floor. That's one of the reasons why I'm good at the 18-inch deadlift. So take that into account for why it might be a harder lift for you, or it might be easier. If you kind of have like stronger hamstrings and you rely more on your low back and getting a lot of speed off the floor, on your conventional deadlift, 18 inches might be a little harder. Now your progressive training, I'm actually going to do more work off of the floor, my conventional deadlift, because I found that an 18-inch deadlift, getting that stronger and focusing on that really does nothing for my conventional deadlift. And the opposite is true. It works the opposite, where if I focus on my conventional deadlift, my 18-inch deadlift gets stronger. So if we're 12, 16 weeks out, I'm still going to do the majority of pulling for myself or clients off the floor, and I'll throw in some accessories from various heights, from 4-inch block pulls for reps, and slightly go up, up. Plus, if you're overloading, I find heavy 18-inch deadlifts are really hard to recover from, and they kind of suck. Another tip, baby powder on your thighs so it kind of just slides right up. And make sure that you're not wearing any sort of clothing that is going to, it's going to catch on or bind. You want it to just be smooth. Lube up those legs. Actually, you see people use baby oil. I wouldn't allow that in my contest, but if they say they do, it'll definitely slide up your legs. You're just going to piss off all the competitors that come after you that have to wade in that mess. Not that there's not worse in a strongman show. So I'm still going to do more of that, and we're going to do tests, pull some sets for reps or just more volume at an elevated height to kind of get used to it. But definitely do not max every week. You're going to get burnout really quick that way. Just, again, work in 75 to 85% range for multiple sets, multiple reps, and just really get used to doing that movement again. If you've gotten to the point where you're pretty proficient at the 18-inch deadlift, this isn't your first rodeo, probably not watching this video anyways, but if that's the case, I think you need to do even less 18-inch deadlift in your training. You should just be focused on getting the muscle group stronger, and as it gets closer, you want to test again probably about 3 to 4 weeks out. I'll have people work up to like a 90% single and maybe go 110%. We're going to kind of find the opener. I'm definitely not going to do any heavy 18-inch deadlifts within 2 weeks of the show, just because I want to be completely rested up for it. Now, let's say the 18-inch deadlifts for reps. If it's for reps, then let's say, and it's within it's within your current abilities and you're gonna have to do a lot of reps with it, then I'm gonna do all of my my first move. I'm gonna treat it as a second movement, and I'm basically gonna do it for reps. I'm gonna do a lot of, 70% of contest weight for max reps, 80% of contest weight for max reps. 3 sets of 8. Do some speed work where I'll do like 6 sets of 2 at 70 to 75 or whatever percent in there, to kind of break it up. But I'll guarantee if you do this, your upper back is going to get a lot bigger, especially your lats. At the start of a rack pull, your lats in that stretch, when they get it, promotes a lot of growth, so it should really help. And if that's something you need to improve on, then block pulls are a great way to do that, from elevated height to overload, especially the upper back, so keep doing them. As far as assistance work, it's going to depend on your specific weaknesses. I think front squats are always great. Box squats can be good to build up your hip strength, even do a higher box, because this is a strongman. There's no depth. There's squats in less than 1% of competitions. All sorts of rows, dumbbell rows, barbell rows to build up your upper back. Hamstring work, traditional stuff, glute ham raises, stiff leg deadlifts, etc. And just general strongman work and conventional deadlifts. I think that'll help you the most. Always strap up. Get all of that stuff at store.startingstrongman.com. And if you have any more questions that you would like me to cover in the future, it's probably already on my YouTube channel, but ask in the comments and I'll direct you in the right way. It's the right place. Thanks.